Navigating early adulthood is an adventure filled with excitement and uncertainty, especially when moving to a new city. Joining us today is someone who knows this journey all too well. At 24, she moved to Charleston and turned her experiences into a blog and podcast. We are happy to be joined by Nicole Farina, writer, influencer, and host of the Charleston Diaries. Nicole, thank you so much for joining us today. And so you moved, where did you move from?
I'm originally from Delaware, born and raised. I just knew that I needed to be in a warm, fun, bright environment, and I'd never been to Charleston before I moved here.
Really?
Yeah.
So it was just like you, full send?
Yes, full send.
Wow,
yeah,
okay.
Which
So,
is crazy.
yeah, so usually like in your, mid-20s is a time where a lot of people, move for the first time, like to a big city. What were the challenges that you faced when you first moved here?
Definitely finding a job. I would say, I would not recommend this. I did move here without a job, but it was COVID times, things were a little different. But it was definitely one of those things that I learned very quickly that Charleston, and obviously I feel like a lot of cities are like this too, it's very network-based community. And if you are just jumping into a city where you have no network, it's very intimidating. But I learned very quickly that you just have to put yourself out there and just make yourself seen and known.
So the Charleston Diaries, how was it born? Like when did you come up with this idea, and then when did you actually implement it?
Yeah, so I actually came up with the idea the third day that I moved here. I was literally sitting at my desk in my new apartment, and I was supposed to be looking for jobs, but I was like, obviously brainstorming my ideal dream life, and I was like, I'm gonna make something called the Charleston Diaries, and I had no idea what it was gonna be. I have it written in a notebook still, and I keep the notebook. But I was an English major in college. I've always loved writing. I've always loved making videos, telling stories, and I knew I was gonna one day create something where that was all tied together. But I was just, Charleston Diaries, I was like, it just came to me like a vision. And that was October of 2020. I didn't do anything with it until, I believe, June of 2021. I made an Instagram page, just making videos of my friends and I on the weekends, going to different spots. But I had 100 followers. It was really, not much. Until exactly 2 years ago, actually, I posted on TikTok. I went on a first date, and I just did a little get ready with me before get ready with me's were even a thing. And I mentioned Charleston, I mentioned dating, and the video did pretty well. And I was like, oh, are people interested in my life? And basically the following weekend, I just vlogged my entire weekend, called it the Charleston Diaries, did a voiceover, told the story of what I did that weekend, and it just kind of took off from there.
Yeah, and so you mentioned the first time you did a get ready with me for a date. So as far as the content you cover, what does the Charleston Diaries cover?
Yeah, so it kind of started off of being okay, this is a weekend in my life, then it was a day in my life, and then it was oh, here's a new restaurant that I'm trying, or here's a coffee shop, or whatever. But now it's kind of expanded into me talking about my life in Charleston, literally my diary of life in Charleston, of my dating experiences, my mental health experiences, changing jobs, and everything that's gone on. And that's why I love to post about everything, because you never know what's going to resonate with someone. And obviously people like to go on TikTok and see what's happening in Charleston, see the new spots, but I know that everybody likes to also be able to relate to somebody too, and especially somebody in their 20s, so.
Yeah, and the Charleston Diaries, the name, it just is so fitting for Charleston. And now, so I want you to talk a little bit about the evolution over the years. You said you started in 2022, and then now, it's exploded. So what are you doing now?
Yeah, so basically, it kind of snowballed into becoming an events business, which that is never what I imagined, but I honestly love it. Basically, when I first started posting, girls were reaching out, how do you make friends in Charleston? How do you make friends post-grad? All that kind of stuff. And I was like, oh, there's a demand for this. Let me host an event for girls to just come make friends. And basically, since then, my first event was September of 2022. I've hosted, I believe, 17 events all around Charleston, mostly girls, but sometimes co-ed too. And they're all very locally based. I always have local vendors come, female-owned businesses, just a way to lift up the community, bring people together. I also have a podcast now, which I just love being able to highlight, same thing, local businesses, local leaders and voices in Charleston. And I also, because of the Charleston Diaries, I've been able to start writing my own column called Single in the Holy City. And yeah, so basically there's a lot of different avenues that Charleston Diaries has branched off often too, and it's exciting.
How exciting is that?
Yes.
Now, where can our viewers go to learn more about you and the Charleston Diaries and any events you have coming up this summer?
Yeah, so my website is thecharlestondiaries.com, but on social media, it's the Charleston Diaries on Instagram, and then my TikTok is at Nicole.Farina, and it's basically like a mix of Charleston Diaries and myself. So
wonderful, Nicole. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and we can't wait to see what the Charleston Diaries, the stories that they tell for years to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're back in 2 minutes.